I began this project by mixing up some of my epoxy. It's just an equal 1-to-1 ratio for the kind that I use, and I just mix it up for 4 minutes until it's good and mixed together. Then I'm going to pour it into this mold that I have. That's just a rectangle. I think it's kind of a 3x5, maybe not quite. I use my heat gun to blow out some of the air bubbles. Once it has dried, I then take it out and I have my solid rectangle that I'm going to work with. I am going to again work with the Atlanta Braves A. I am a big fan of the Braves, and plus I didn't really like how big the last one that I made was, so I wanted one a little bit smaller, and it's a fairly simple design, so I thought it would be kind of easy to work with. I take my design over to my scroll saw and begin cutting this out. Now, this takes me a while, not nearly as long as it took me to mold the clay for the last one that I did using clay, but it still took me a long time. I am not by any means a professional scroll saw. I think I've had this one maybe a year. I'm not real sure. I haven't had it a real long time. I can work with it, just not great. I just used a blade that was made for cutting plastic up to 1.5 inches, I think, and it worked really well. I wanted all parts of this design to be shiny, so after I have finished the work on the scroll saw, I just use plain clear fingernail polish to paint the sides that were made matte by the scroll saw blade. This works really well. You do get a little bit of a brush effect on the sides, but since it's on the sides, I wasn't worried too much about it. To set up my mold, I just use a cookie cutter and I put hot glue around the edges to keep the silicone from leaking out. I use Mold Star 15 slow silicone for my molds, and all it is an equal 1-to-1 ratio of the parts, and you just stir it together until you no longer see any streaks. I usually stir it together 3 to 4 minutes just to make sure, and really I just a lot of times will go until I don't see any streaks and then go for 1 more minute just to make doubly sure. Next, you pour your silicone into your prepared mold. Pour it into the lowest spot, let it find its own level, and it will evacuate the bubbles itself. And I just left this in here because I think it's kind of fun to watch the bubbles rise to the top and pop. This silicone cures in 4 hours. Once it does, you just peel the tape off the bottom, and that extra coming out of the outside, that was not where the mold leaked. I accidentally spilled it when I was trying to transfer where it was sitting. You take your original piece out and you have a mold left. I just threw this little flower in there so that I would not waste the extra space, and I had a little rose that I wanted to make a mold out of, and I just used my X-Acto knife to trim kind of where it leaked underneath to make it have a more clean edge, and then pop it out as well. To test out my mold, I just mixed up some more epoxy, equal part 1-to-1. I had some red powder and some red glitter, mixed that together. And then I pour it into my mold. I use my heat gun again to pop any bubbles, and I also use a little silicone pointer tool to pop any bubbles there. Next is the demolding of the final product, and ta-da! There she is, red and sparkly.